Wow, this is a yeah, this is the real deal. Ah, I'm with Gabriel Shalom, my friend, and returning to the podcast, and my guinea pig with the new Riverside recording studio, which every podcaster's been using for 10 years, but I'm just now hip to the game. Yeah, it was a while ago, and it was a very popular episode. I we talked. You were at the forefront of emerging technologies and uh, experimental video. I think we talked about. Oh, well, I'm excited to have you back because just the other day you did an Ask Me Anything, and I joined, and you were talking about strategy, positioning yourself, both as a director and as an agency and a creative person. And I thought we could all learn from you today, Gabe. So tell us about that. What is the agency called? What are you specializing in? And aren't you in London right now, over in England? What does that mean, black book approach? It's all relationships.
It's all relationships and the aesthetic piece matters.
Hmm.
Um, in advertising traditionally, especially with like agency of record models where an agency's getting paid a big fat chunk every month to do pretty much whatever the client wants, uh, it's a little bit of a black box as opposed to a black book because you just sort of the management at the agency decides who to assign to this client work, and the infamous kind of peril that agency folks face historically is if a client leaves, then everybody that's been on that client might be sacked because the way resources are distributed, they might not necessarily be working on anything
Sure.
else. So, but the
And
way,
the
yeah,
upside of that is, though, Gabe, is that is it okay if I call you Gabe instead of
yeah,
Gabriel every time? Okay.
go for it.
Sometimes I've seen agency creatives, especially creative directors and ECDs, go to the new agency of record with the client because they're so familiar. Like the client goes, "We love her, but we're leaving all of you."
That's true. That
And that
happens.
so that I just wanted to put a silver lining to that story. But what I'm understanding is your black book approach, similar to the production company model of like hiring freelancers for the project, the right director, the right DP, the right production designer, even the right line producer,
Yep.
which means there's like my production company, True Gent, and listeners can learn more at truegent.tv. It's it's all a la carte black
Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
right? It's my EP partner, myself, and we gear up for the director, which is usually me, and you pick each personality. I like to cast the crew like I would actors for parts.
Yep.
So you're doing that with creatives. And I'm assuming that would include not just a copywriter, an art director, a creative director, but probably some sort of AI specialist.
Yep. It could be a synthographer. It could be a prompt engineer. It could be a automation specialist. It could just be something more pedestrian too, in sort of the digital era. It could be a Shopify expert
Oh,
or
wow.
an email marketing person. But pretty much whatever the client needs. And trying to specialize when you're starting up an agency can be a little daunting because you kind of need the work that you can get. I've been fortunate enough to focus a little bit, though. I have clients in the spirits vertical. I have a client that does a
You
uh,
mean booze, not like
booze.
ghosts
Yeah,
and
not
goblin.
ghosts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
mean
there's
that.
people listening that are like, wow, I didn't know that was a category.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's busiest around Halloween, so it's been a little bit dry.
Well
But
played.
yeah, yeah. So there's that, and then I also have clients in retail and e-commerce, so men's fashion, for instance. Um,
Are
so I
these
think
people that you knew you had worked with as a creative yourself, and you reached out and go, "Hey, I got this new agency."
so. The clients come through the door in a lot of different directions.
Hmm.
Some of it's just relationship building. Some of it's been through LinkedIn, funny enough, like meeting interesting people. I think there's a weird what me and a couple of friends of mine, colleagues, call weird LinkedIn. Like there's a if you haven't found weird LinkedIn yet, go looking for it. It's out there because there's people on LinkedIn who don't take the platform at face value and do crazy stuff on there, and I think I applaud them for like it's kind of like yeah, I don't know. The Well, I have a hard time separating LinkedIn from Microsoft. I mean, like
Uh-huh.
who owns it? Like it's a certain type of corporate aesthetic that is very like if you're not creative, you might not think about what I'm saying at all. And if you are creative, you're like, yeah, that's why I don't spend any time on LinkedIn.
Well,
Um,
it's interesting, Gabriel, that I'm probably weird LinkedIn adjacent. Like, they have, if someone gets a job, they'll post this little meme that LinkedIn provides for you, and it's a bunch of balloons, and one's a happy
oh yeah,
balloon that goes up. So I downloaded that, and using various tools, old school Photoshop Premiere and some new AI, I made a sad balloon that dropped down
nice.
and spoofed that meme and said, didn't get the job.
Yeah, no, it's good. You are weird on LinkedIn, Jordan, for sure.
Oh, thank you for that stamp of approval. But my point is that I thought it was a very popular post, but not taken at the comedy level. It was taken at face value that, hey, sorry, go get him. You'll get another one. Wasn't meant to be. And and I'm like, no, it's a joke. I'm cool. I've been doing this a long time. I have rhino skin. I'm not really a sad balloon. But and there was another component to that, which was I am I present a lot of happiness, positivity, and wins, right? And I thought, well, I have to temper it with I'll share a loss. That's the era we're in. People are vulnerable, and authentic is a buzzword that comes up. So I'll put something on LinkedIn that says, hey, I don't win every job I pitch, and made the sad balloon, which was a creative exercise. But again, the number of people that were like, hey, buddy, stick it out, stick with it. You're going to make it. Well, I thought, well, maybe that's the problem with my humor. It's just too dry.
I don't know. I mean, you also don't know how many. I mean, I'm sure you have quite a legitimate audience, and at the same time, knowing what you know about bot traffic on the internet, you don't know how many of those comments were robots just doing sentiment analysis and being
Oh,
like, "Oh,
wow.
I should, tell Jordan it's going to be okay." That would be the right thing to say in this moment. I don't know.
So that could be a bot that has some sort of weird, like a fake name, a fake profile from
Sure.
a
Easy.
Lithuanian marketer with a profile picture, and they're giving me hugs.
Easy. Easy. Yeah.
I'm bursting my bubble.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it's there's a lot of strange, uncanny things you can experience. Like one of the things that happened to me recently, I was on Instagram maybe a little past my bedtime, and I got served this completely obnoxious animated Instagram ad, and it was like a no holds barred script that was really obnoxious and like in your face, and I was like, what is this? And I looked at the account, and there were more of them, all in the same style. I was like, this is really kind of gross and weird, but compelling at the same time. Anyway, it's like learn AI filmmaking for $5. I was like, okay, all
Yeah,
right, I'll pay the $5 just to see what's behind the curtain. I'm curious because this thing is like it's got a weird, sassy kind of energy. And I get behind the curtain. I ended up paying $32, of course, because it's a subscription. Anyway, I get behind the curtain. The whole thing is a multi-level marketing scheme, and the whole idea is the guy has basically templatized his shocking videos to teach people how to make those shocking videos for
yeah,
like
sure,
a commission.
sure.
Whatever. It's a course about making courses about making courses. Um, so much of that's out there at this point. I mean, people talk about the dead internet theory of how all the content is going to become AI generated, and so there's going to be less and less human activity on social media. But I think we're going to enter into maybe some sort of dead economic period too, where like not a recession, but like
Okay. Ooh.
well, there'll probably be a recession too, but that's another story. But I think there'll be a world in which a lot of, especially e-commerce, is this automated thing. Like I won't be surprised if it's already happening that there is a fully agentic e-commerce business that comes to be, that is run by one person, that makes you know millions and millions of dollars, through some elaborate scheme. Basically, I mean,
Yeah.
um,
I got an email this morning. AI bots now will run everything, your e-commerce, your shopping, your spreadsheets. And the article boasted, or the author boasted of a 45% accuracy, which I find quite low.
yeah, that's quite awful. Actually, I mean, that's the thing. A lot of the firms that have downsized because of the promises of AI agents have had to try to then crawl back and rehire the people they fired, and it's because agents are very, very inaccurate at doing anything that knowledge workers should be doing. Um, I've kind of with the agency positioned myself as sort of I'm hedging. Basically, I'm doing something that people do in financial markets with creativity in a way. So on the one hand, I'm saying, yes, please come to me. I will help you with your bleeding edge technological creative problems. No worries. I got you. Whether it's
Yeah.
robotics or AI or agents, let's talk. I've got a thick network on those topics, and I'm very well informed. And let's make something really cool and edgy happen. No problem. And at the same time, I'm deeply invested in things that are offline, that are analog, that are experiential, that are high quality, low frequency, because the AI slop is generating a ton of noise, and there's no reason for most brands to try to compete with that. If the brands I'm interested in working with anyway, um, rise above that on some level, and shouldn't nor could they really fully automate their marketing. It just
You
wouldn't
just
work.
Yeah, you just touched on something, Gabe, that I've been thinking about since really late 2023 as I was watching AI and experimenting,
Yeah.
It's that the more things become AI and automated and in our face, and the AI slop we've talked about on the podcast. I was actually a guest on another podcast entitled AI Slop. Uh, the podcast wasn't, the episode was. I feel humans are going to want more experiences. Maybe not everything's the Coachella level, but festivals, gatherings, special nights, which give agencies a chance to infuse it with marketing at the level of a Coachella. Smaller events will have a bigger advertising presence or marketing presence, and that's, I love it. I love a slick booth at a trade show.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
I've done some of those. Frankfurt
through
Auto
the
Fair.
agency.
Yeah, well, back when I was directing and producing, I also
Mm.
was like one of the bigger projects I did in Germany was for the Frankfurt Auto Fair, um, part of their for Mini Cooper, it's part of their
FAF, they call
booth.
it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
No, I made that up. Do they call it FAF?
No,
Frankfurt Auto Fair?
they call it
Not even German.
yeah, I forget what they call it, the Frankfurt Motor Show in English. I think in German they call it something I can't remember. So yeah, but then I did a really crazy activation a couple of years ago for the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, where we had a robotic cat, and we hired
Of
a Hollywood creature.
course you did.
We had a Hollywood creature artist give it blue fur, and the creative director was on site controlling it with remote control. We had a team of about 30 people supporting it with social media, paid media, influencers, front of house, back of house. It was like a whole thing. User generated content. Did 55 million plays on TikTok in 10 days.
I'm sorry, you said 55 million.
Yeah,
Wow. That's a hit.
it was a hit. It would still be around, but it was the era. It was the era of experimentation and then quick kill-offs of innovation teams. So 2023 somehow was a year where there was a lot of crazy stuff happening, and then multiple different corporates decided to pull the plug on the cool stuff they were doing that summer. So it was a flash in the pan, but it was a very bright flash.
Wow. I'm trying to go back to 2023, and maybe they all ran to buy their Naked Ape NFTs or whatever those were at that
I
time.
mean, it's funny you should mention NFT because the product was actually a blockchain related thing, and I think that's part of what we were seeing
Gotcha.
go down in flames that year was like finally the hype cycle around you know blockchain related stuff was starting to get a little bit too like overdone, overblown. So, but yeah, I think I like to say that events are the original social media.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's nothing more social than being face to face with another human being. And word of mouth is really the way that the most social content travels. Most people don't know this, but for instance, when an Instagram reel is very popular, its popularity is really a coefficient of how frequently it's shared in the DMs between two different people.
Yeah.
And this is a behavior that, that is allowed the industry to sort of identify reels as its own language, because
Mm-hmm.
we've all got an inbox like that. Everybody's got an inbox with some friend of theirs or acquaintance where
My wife and I.
the only thing you're saying to each other is basically you're not even saying anything. You're just sharing reels and then maybe emoji commenting on what you thought about them. And with with some people that's the entire exchange, but that actually creates a ton of velocity for that content. So you know, it's very interesting to be able to. We talk about multimodal AI, but we don't appreciate that we've been communicating in a multimodal way for a very long time now.
Oh my gosh. Korg, Nanook, and Mimu around the fire back in the caveman days. That was the original social media.
Yeah, I love those names too.
Don't ask me to repeat them because that was fresh off the dome. Nanook I've probably done before. Korg is my go-to caveman name.
Korg's great because I always think of like the Korg synthesizer, so I just see
Oh
this like
yeah.
bright red keyboard sitting there with the rest of them.
It's key rock, Your Honor. Okay, so let me go back to where if I was a polished interviewer, I would have gotten this in sooner. Why start an agency? Like, what was your desire? Did you wake up one day? Were you in the bathtub? Were you on a run? And you go, I got to do it.
Okay.
And part two of the question, and I asked you this on the Ask Me Anything you so nicely hosted. Aren't you going to do production as well? Like, it seems that the future is agencies are already doing production in-house, production that's capable and has a deep black book can now offer creative. I have clients coming to me directly the last 2 years. they've got a seed of an idea, we flesh it out and we execute. So part one was, where were you in the shower or whenever why you want an agency, and then part two.
Yeah. Well, so a little bit of lore about why it's called Brave New Agency is
Yes.
for about 8 years, I worked on a television show concept. And inside the container of that show, Brave New Agency was a fictitious part of the story world.
Gotcha.
So I decided to make it a real company. Um,
But in the
the
in the TV show, was it evil?
yes,
Okay, makes sense.
yes, it was. So this is one of the interesting things about making it a real company is I've kind of challenged myself to figure out how I can do something good with it. And I'll tell you, I haven't figured that out yet. I don't think advertising's that good. I mean, it's good to do advertising. Don't get me wrong, but I think there's a brand strategist named Eugene Healy. He's a young man from Australia. He's very well spoken and he's incredibly articulate and intelligent. And he's correctly identified recently that there's something deeply disingenuous about brands trying to do good in the world. Uh,
Uh-huh.
we always kind of knew it was just a way for them to sort of uh,
Virtue signaling.
virtue signal. Yeah, but in a way, he's saying like they should stop. And there's other actors and or other other departments of companies than their marketing department that should be investing in positive change if they're going to do that at all. And I kind of like where he's coming from with that because I've kind of come to a similar conclusion about the industry in general, which is that my desire to do good is is still there. It's real, but it's
Oh,
not. But I'm not putting it into my agency work. Like I'm doing the agency to earn money. That's actually something I realized I have in common with my clients. We're both making advertising to make money. They're doing it to make money for the company. I'm doing it to make money for my company. So we have that in common. And that's not a bad thing. It's fine to make money. I just think that the ethical drive that I have to do good in the world, I'm putting that energy into my own original IP, where I don't have a client and I can say what I want. So so that's kind of how I've solved that. But why I started the agency, aside from it being fun to kind of bring fiction into reality, um, is that I spent a year working at Meta, and I was
and they're good, and their desire to do good inspired you.
no comment. I think it was more that I saw the industry from a very, very unique perspective. And I saw the opportunity space very clearly by the time I got out of there. I was there for a year. And during the time I was there, I was advising major advertisers who were spending 6, 7, 8 figures on the platform, which is amazing and crazy. And what I got to see as a result of that vantage point was I got to see inside, you know, dozens and dozens of in-house marketing teams. I got to see inside dozens of agencies, not only creative agencies, but also media buying agencies.
Mm-hmm.
I got to understand the creator landscape uh, in a much broader way than I had prior, because I got to see multiple different sorts of creators being engaged on different sorts of projects at different price points. Um, and I was also, spread across my book of business was spread across, you know, Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, the DACH region, because I speak fluent German, as well as the UK market. So I saw a lot of different types of companies in different industries doing a lot of different things and seeing a lot of people do a lot of the same stuff wrong, which is why I was speaking with them because, I was there to kind of help them optimize their ad spend. But that was just a lot of really deep intelligence about like where are we really at with the ad economy. So when I came out of that, I thought, well, I can start an agency now because I don't think I would have had the gumption prior to that level of understanding, because I think when you what I saw inside of that team, I was on the creative shop team, um, is that being from that point of view, what I had been doing previously as a director just seemed like, for lack of a better metaphor, it seemed like the ants climbing up the ant hill, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And from the perspective of doing creative strategy inside of Creative Shop, it was like seeing the entire terrarium, seeing the fishbowl next to the terrarium, seeing the cactus,
Yeah.
like seeing the whole picture. And so, yeah, it was sort of like if I want to do that work, that hands-on directing and writing and creative work, I really want to put it into my own projects primarily. And that's why I kind of see creative strategy as the primary offering of my agency, with
Hmm.
production as kind of a, not an afterthought, but just like if you get serious as one of
If
my
you get
clients.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the other thing. I don't really, now that I understand a more fundamental relationship between strategy, creative, and production, um, I I can do production for clients, and I do. Still, I have one of my biggest clients right now is a pure synthographic production product. Uh,
I
but
don't know what synthographic, I don't know what that word means.
so it's an entirely AI synthesized set of deliverables. It's like key art for an out of
Oh,
home
wow.
campaign. Yeah, and they're all the hundreds of them are all just AI. So I'll gladly take work on that that's like that. But fundamentally, if I want to create a real transformation for one of my clients, the strategy piece is critical, because I could spend easily a couple months with a client just doing strategy work, just doing minor adjustments, almost like a like touching pressure points,
Hmm.
to figure out how their team works, figure out what issues they have. Maybe they have organic and paid siloed inside of their organization. That's a pretty common problem, and it's a problem because best practice is to make paid ads feel like they're organic content. So if your organic team and your paid team don't talk to each other, that's that's actually a real oversight, because the organic team's probably learning at an extremely rapid pace what works on the platform, and not sharing any of their insight with the paid team who's managing these massive budgets, and often are scratching their heads about what to do with their next ad creative. So that's one of the diagnostic things I do often with clients, is kind of figure out their team structure, figure out who's talking to who, and how to help them see each other more clearly and from a strategic point of view. But there could be all kinds of other things. Localization is another big challenge that I help clients with, figuring out how to version their campaigns across different markets. Um, there's also the problem that a lot of these teams, because we've been talking about this trend of like, you know, brand teams internalizing a lot of the functions that used to happen in agencies. One of the things they generally don't do, though, is they don't bring in that senior executive creative director. They usually build these creative teams with juniors and senior marketing people, maybe,
Hmm.
but very infrequently do you see an ECD level of creative direction inside of a brand team. That's not in certain verticals. Like high fashion is a great exception. Like if you look inside the teams,
It's an exception.
it's a likely exception to what I'm saying,
Gotcha.
because they have such an aesthetic product that it's sensible for them to bring a really well-known talent in as their creative director. And there's even press releases from major fashion houses about the next big deal creative director they brought on. Some musicians have even made that transition,
Sure.
like,
Pharrell.
yeah, exactly. So that's a space where that sort of bucks that trend, and that's actually one reason I'm interested in working in fashion, because I think they just they just fundamentally get creativity on a different level when the product is so aesthetically minded. But your average, say, e-commerce brand that's scaled, that's spending, say, millions or tens of millions of dollars on Facebook ads or Instagram ads, they very well may be spending all that money and not have an executive creative director level of creative leadership inside their team.
And
And
therefore the ads don't work as well because they're not hitting. And if I'm following this, sometimes the people that are boots on the ground with the ads aren't communicating with the people doing the strategy.
well, they're not. Yeah, I mean, this is the other question. So there may be like a senior creative leader missing from an in-house brand team, in which case, hey, let's talk. Because that's kind of
Let's
what.
let's talk to
Yeah,
brand new agency.
yeah. Um, but then the other dimension of it is, yeah, like, do they even have a strategist on their team? A lot of the time, the answer is no.
You know what's
So
interesting?
yeah.
The Just to interject, I had an experience recently. Somebody reached out. This has happened twice in the last 7 months. I've been on a Zoom with someone who had a lead, and they're pitching, like, we'll do this kind of video. And they're coming to me to execute the video. And like, you help us flesh it out. And I actually point out to them that they're not ready to hire me or my competitors because there's no big idea that this video you want to do is serving. Like, I don't think you're going to win that account by pitching a video or series of videos, because what purpose do they serve? So I'll take the money and I'll produce it. And like you, my goodness goes into passion projects. So I'll services. I famously have said I'll sell vape pens to orphans if it's a good script and a solid budget. And then I'll take the money and do, a PSA for sick kids. Do the good with the money I make. So I get it that people, there's something sexy about production in any form that people gravitate to. But I think, you have to do the work and plan out why. This is why a lot of times we'll say, God bless the agency, because they've aligned the strategy with the client before they get to production.
Right.
And I'm fearful for many production companies. You've seen them. They're in, you could be anywhere now. You don't have to be in the big cities, but the agency does everything. And conversely, or likewise, the production company does everything. Scripting, ideation, production, post-production, casting, voiceover. I mean, and to me, it's ridiculous. Pardon me if your website says all this stuff, Gabe.
No, I'm just taking it in. No, I think you're right. I mean, there's a chronic issue in the creative industries about lack of specialization. Because if you're indistinguishable from another competitor, you're a vendor. You're not.
You're going to compete on price.
Yeah, and nobody wants to. Nobody
wins.
Nobody on this podcast wants to be competing on price. So, how do you distinguish yourself? Otherwise, I do think it's brand first, and then secondly, what is your brand standing for? In my case, it's really, brave new agency, because we're brave in the sense that we're willing to take briefs for things that no one else will touch or even know how to do. I mean, I'm currently exploring a RFP for a large-scale animatronic bird of prey. I won't be specific which kind.
Wow.
But, that's not something every shop can handle. And at the same time, I've got stuff that's like, we are building the plane as we are flying it. We're developing an AI workflow that we haven't tried before, that the client's never seen before, that the agency partner that we're working with has never seen before. And we're not scared to do that and deliver, a significant budget project on that basis, because we are professionals. We know how to take it to the finish line. In AI, there's a lot of hacks right now who have taught themselves tools that have only existed for 6 months to a year and are claiming a high level of expertise. And while they may know those tools inside out, before that, they might have been doing something like walking dogs or, cutting hair or something. And it's like, good for you.
Yeah.
Like, no shade, really. I love ambition. We've all been there at different points in our career, but like, call a spade a spade. If you're trying to close a 6-figure marketing budget for a multi-platform social media driven ad campaign, your experience walking dogs is probably not going to be that relevant. And
no, there are exceptions. I mean, before I was a director, I was a popular in-demand underwear model, but I made the pivot. The thing, it's interesting because, like, Higgsfield, as of this recording, is one of my favorite platforms for AI.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this combo of live action with AI inserts, and I recently did AI people reacting to live action. And I'm just doing them on the phone and as experimentations and a proof of theory. And I see people mastering that, but the plug and play AI, whether it's a robotic camera move or bullet time or the Tokyo zoom, sort of a dolly zoom thing, once those are plug in off the shelf, then anybody can do them. Then the dog walker may have to go back to dog walking.
Yeah.
And just yesterday, Gabe, I see in the morning, it's a brilliant piece. It's like not even 10 seconds. an IKEA box is in an empty bedroom. It
Oh yeah.
explodes and the room is filled. And I'm like, wow, that is so cool. Someone tinkered and made it, and they probably did. Later in the afternoon, I see a case of Corona beer on the beach explode, and now it's a beach party. It's the same bit.
Well, I mean, maybe you haven't seen the. I don't know. I've seen probably 12 different versions of the IKEA ad too by now. Um, the 8 second VO3 IKEA prompt, we should say, because really,
I saw the guy posted that
yeah,
and
they
watched his iterations.
yeah.
But the my point is, it's like the trend of gorillas vlogging is now the shelf life is shortening as these things become more
Yeah.
ubiquitous.
So I have a
And
theory
so,
about that too.
yes, please.
So okay, so you could say like this became pretty clear to me, like even last year I was thinking about this because of what I kind of knew I knew some of this stuff was coming before the general public knew it was coming. So one of the things that I was thinking was like, okay, so you'll see this a lot, by the way, from these recent AI upskillers, let's call them.
Hmm.
They'll do something like, oh, look at this spec ad I made for Gucci, or look at this spec ad I made for, yeah, Gucci's a good example, I guess. Like a high fashion runway, you know, fashion brand that your average person doesn't get to work on. Like most people don't get to do
Right.
Gucci ads, right? So now here's this person who is pretty much an outsider to the industry doing what they think should be a passable Gucci ad. And it's very likely ripping off Gucci aesthetics that cost millions to achieve last season or whatever. Maybe even last week, depending, right? Because you see how fast the prompt craft goes. Like this IKEA thing is exploding as we speak. So here's the thing that I think is interesting about all that is that it's kind of like we've been here. Okay, so we've been here before culturally with music, and
Yeah.
it was the Napster era, and basically there were two sides to that. There was the very obstreperous, very copyright focused side that was represented by the band Metallica, who was ready to sue young people for pirating their songs.
I
And
remember.
then there was this guy, good old Lawrence Lessig, who started Creative Commons, who tried to open people up to the idea that if you would enable people to remix your work, you might get better reach and better traction with a wider audience because of the remixes, and that if you
Hmm.
would license your work under Creative Commons, you would kind of be giving people a carte blanche to do that with your work without having to request your permission explicitly, and thereby drive your overall notoriety beyond your own audience and your own capabilities. I think we're there with brands now. So I think, this IKEA thing is not an official IKEA ad, we should say. It's like fan fiction of what an IKEA ad could
Sure.
be. But it is nonetheless bearing the actual IKEA logo, and there are plenty of people on LinkedIn especially who are not particularly scrupulous calling it an IKEA ad, not an IKEA spec ad. And so the overall resonance in the market, even despite its inauthenticity, is going to have a halo effect for the IKEA brand. The
IKEA wins.
IKEA wins pretty much no matter what, even if IKEA's primary recourse after all the dust settles is to come out with a campaign based on this idea that's shot for proper money with a proper crew at a level that's above and beyond this silly 8 second, demo ad. Because if you watch it, and I've watched it like at least dozens of times, frame by frame, it's very, very poor. It's very, very poor. It only really works if you watch it a couple of times. If you really examine it and you have any experience with VFX or motion graphics, you see all these seams that would never in a
Yeah.
million years pass creative review, not in a million years.
But the
So,
common
yeah.
person doesn't care. My soapbox, I recently saw a spec AI liquid death ad where the
Oh, yeah.
cop pulls over the kid and it's got dark humor and it's really funny and it looks great. And I posted and then I deleted because I don't want to be negative and trash somebody's work, spec or not. Like I just don't want that in my psyche that I'm posting negative shit. So I had it up for like 3 seconds. I go, no, let them have their moment. But it's not on point with the brand.
Nope.
And the quality was actually better than a Liquid Death spot as far as
Yep.
like they have this real campy sort of it's a sitcom-y vibe in what they shoot, and they have Travis Barker's blood in
Well, and they have a
something or
really lean team. Like I saw a
yeah,
job, I saw a producer job floating around for Liquid Death's in-house team recently, and it was very interesting to read that ad because you could see between the lines the way that it was spec'd was if you join this team, you're going to be extremely hands-on. You're probably going to be working really hard, and we do most of our stuff in-house. And it was
yeah.
like, okay, all right, yeah. So the guy that made the spec ad about the cop and his son and his birthday, like, yeah, did missed the brief there, right? And that was sort of my reaction to it too. Is like this is great storytelling. It's visually spectacular. It's executed at an extremely high level of craft for what AI can do today. And at the same time, it would never pass creative review, and it's completely off brand. But I think what we start to understand there, and this is going to tie back to something you said a little earlier. You said that when these sort of these fast and loose clients come to you and they're like, can you help us develop this video? And you're like, well, guys, you don't have a big idea driving this yet. So honestly, no, not yet. I would go one step further and I would say it's actually not just a big idea anymore. So it's a system of ideas
Mm.
approach that you need a system of ideas. If you're going to be doing social media marketing, especially a singular monolithic TV commercial style big idea is the old way of doing things. And it's
It's
not
not
that
it's not relevant.
it is no, it is relevant if you're doing TV.
No, but I mean globally to your brand's positioning, it's not relevant in that what works on TV. And we've known this for a decade of you don't your commercial chopped into social isn't necessarily going to perform as well.
It doesn't. No.
Yeah.
No. And there's an unbelievable amount of ad inventory purchased every month on social to run cut downs that we know underperform. And we don't just know it a little bit, we know it hard. Like we have great statistics about how bad it is. But it's also not something you need to prove with numbers. If you show it to a Gen Z and you say, hey, look at this, they're just going to swipe right past it. It reads as television reformatted
Yeah.
to social. It doesn't read correctly. So we know
I
this.
did one of those
Yeah.
last summer where it was TV shot only for social but as TV, and the stuff we did on Sunday afternoon with an iPhone dwarfed performance wise, just dwarfed it.
Yeah, and it'll continue to overperform in that way. So that's another thing I help clients with is like diversifying their creative approach so that they're not just operating on one idea. I mean, it's also kind of common sense. It's funny that people don't realize this at this point. It's like, think about other arenas in which you de-risk your portfolio strategy, right? Like if you're an investor, you don't just invest in one stock, you know. Um, it's like betting on multiple horses in the same race. It's
That's a great analogy,
yeah,
both the financial and the horse one.
yeah.
Now, Gabriel, we have to wrap up. The show is 45 minutes, and we could talk for hours, you and I. Tell us where people should go to find the agency.
Yes, it's bravenewagency.com.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I guess the only thing I would plug aside from the agency is that yeah, my real passion these days is in writing episodic drama. In fact, that's what's behind me on the whiteboard. That's my beat sheet for my
Oh
pilot.
my goodness! Now, if
Um,
I put a video clip and people zoom in, they might steal your idea, but it is a little out of focus.
I would love that. If anybody, this is a challenge to the AI community. Okay, try. I dare you. Try to take those beats off the whiteboard and turn them into a little AI video and post it and say this is related to Gabriel's TV project. I would love that. Please give me the extra attention.
For the very reason that IKEA is winning from the spec ad.
Yes, yes,
Fan
because
fiction.
if someone is able to decipher my beats from my whiteboard and make a fan fiction, I almost want to just like give them a kiss. It's just like that is amazing. How did you do that? Become part of my team. Tell me your secrets. That's kind of my attitude because really, um, yeah, this tight white knuckled grip that people have on their brands, um, it's embodied in that same spirit, I think. Now, nonetheless, like there will be an official version.
I
So
love it.
look out for
Now,
that. Yeah.
I don't remember your answer to our final question years back, and neither do you. But here's how we end the show. Gabe, what does respect the process mean to you?
Okay, so I'm going to give you like a left field one on this one this time. So for me, that phrase in my life these days really is a spiritual thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the sense of trusting that there are things happening out there that are not in your control. So I'll tell you a little story about that. So I have two shows that are in development right now. The one that's on that whiteboard and then another one. The other show was inspired by a TED Talk. I heard this TED Talk. I was living in Queens in New York City a couple of years ago. I heard this TED Talk. I thought, man, the thing this woman's talking about is really important. It should be amplified. I have like a idea of how I could tell a story that would get more people aware of her issues. So I wrote a little treatment for a show based on that. And then it's set in Scotland, okay? And it's about a family. It's about a dynasty, actually. And so when I moved to the UK, I thought to myself, I bet there's a real family out there that's kind of like this family that I'm writing about. I haven't done my research, so just throw it into deep research on Gemini, whatever. See what comes up.
Yeah.
Turns out absolutely there's a Scottish family that is very, very, bears a good resemblance to my fictitious one, and it turns out that one of my clients knows the son. Okay, but it gets
The law
better.
of attraction.
Gets better. I start telling this story. I have office space in Shoreditch, and it's a co-working space. People come in and out. There was a guy visiting from Barcelona. We got on like a house on fire. I was telling him a little bit about my projects. Told him I had this project in the works that was inspired by this TED Talk, and he's like, "Oh, that lady? Oh, she sits on our board."
No way.
Yeah. So I don't know why that's happening to me. I don't know. It's just that I tell these stories. I find myself in alignment, and somehow I trust it. So that's how I trust the process. Is I just say like, if I'm following my heart and my sense of ethics, I don't really have to question it. I can just proceed one baby step at a time and watch this immaculate thing unfold in front of me. And that's kind of how I feel about it.
Wow, that is one of the best answers and stories I've heard regarding respecting the process. I'm very much in tune with expecting, not relying on, but expecting happy accidents and connections. People call it manifestation, but I think it's more being open and being present to what you want to happen, because I could never predict the connection someone's going to make for me. What you just said, I could never in a million years think my buddy is going to know the farmer and
Yeah.
hook us up, and I'm going to be shooting what I had done a treatment for 3 months prior.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, that's
And
why
your story's great.
the slug line for my entertainment production company, yet to be founded, is stories are prototypes of the future. Because that's how it
Stories
works.
are prototypes for the future. Yes.
Yeah, that's how it works. You tell something. The very act of speaking the words helps to reify the thing you're talking about. So that's yeah. Whether you call it manifestation or not, it really works that way.
Oh man, that's another podcast that maybe we need to start. We'll do a weekly chat on that. Gabe, thanks so much. I'm going to put links at jordanbrady.com. They'll be in the show notes. You're going to send me a piece of work you want me to post with the blog.
Cool.
And thanks everybody for listening. Gabe, thanks. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Jordan. It's been a real
Thanks
blast.
for coming back.
Yeah,
Bye bye.
cheers. All right, bye bye.
Thanks, man.